Alrighty, so it is 1:30. So since we have a lot of information to go over, I'm going to go ahead and get started on this webinar. So thank you so much for joining me today. And today's webinar topic, we're going to be talking about U.S. News Media March 2021 filing overview. My name is Sandy Liking, and I am the Client Solutions Training Manager here at AAM. Before we do get started, I do have a couple of housekeeping notes. One, I do have everyone on mute because of the size of the audience we do have, but feel free to go ahead and if you do have questions, enter them in the chat box. If I have time online, I will try to address them online. If not, I will definitely address your questions offline. Also, just like all my training webinars, this webinar is being recorded. So I will be sending a follow-up email to the webinar that will include the webinar recording as well as this PowerPoint presentation. So previously in a filing webinar that we did back in October for September, we announced that AAM had several changes to the news media audit reports that were aimed to simplify the rules, streamline reporting, reduce publisher record keeping requirements, and modernize the audit while still delivering valuable planning data to our buyers. But today's webinar, what we're going to be focusing on, the primary focus of this webinar, we'll be going over the final transition to the recent approved newspaper reporting and simplification changes for U.S. newspapers. So that's the majority of what this webinar will be talking about is about the transition and the completion of the reporting categories. Then I'm going to do a brief recap of the zip code reporting changes. Those changes occurred in September, but I thought I would do just a brief recap as a refresher about the changes for zip codes. Then briefly going to touch base about the COVID-19 reporting options that are still available for the March 21 filing. Then I'm going to show you the daily and community newspaper statement formats, what they look like now. With all the changes in place, they have changed. That's been modified, consolidated, especially for the community newspapers. Those are publications that are 25,000 and less. It's known as the CNA. Your statement formats have changed. Then I'm going to switch out of my PowerPoint, going to go into the actual live demo of the filing tool. I'm going to show you a daily and a CNA just so you can see how those changes were implemented in the filing tool. The filing tool itself did not change, but what did change is when you enter in your information on the reporting categories. So I'm going to go over that. And then before I end the webinar, I'm going to switch it over to my colleague, Jenny Anderson. Jenny Anderson's going to go over the Media Intelligence Center, which is AAM's database, and it is where all your release documents are housed. So she's going to go over, once your statement's released, she's going to show you how you can access the PDF document, your brand view, as well as the zip code. Oops, well, need to go forward here. So as you noticed in September, things had changed with filing. And I like this, this particular screen right here because it talks about the changes in reporting, how often you report to AAM and what you report to AAM. So just remember, on a quarterly basis, you will file zip code data. That remains the same. That has not changed. What has changed, and this went into effect with September, that it used to be you used to file your quarterly zip code, and then every quarter you also filed your circulation claims in detail by distribution type, by frequency every quarter. That changed. So instead of filing it every quarter, you file your circulation claims every 6 months. So that started in September of 2020, and this is for the March 2021. So September and March, you file, in addition to your zip code information, you will also file your circulation claims by frequency and in detail. So every quarter, you still file zip codes. You'll notice that in June and December, that's all you're going to file is this your zip code information. But when it comes to March and September, when you file your zip code, you're also going to file your 6-month claims. So 6-month ending September and 6-month ending March. The next few slides are going to be talk about the different reporting changes that have occurred with various categories. There's been some consolidation, simplification of reporting categories. Now, the first few slides I'm going to talk about is paid print distribution. Really wasn't a whole lot of change to paid print. This is mostly a cosmetic change that happened was home delivery and mail is now called home delivery, and single copy sales is now just called single copy. Business traveler, your paid business traveler, there was no change to that category either. So you still have separate breakouts for business traveler for group subscriptions, hotel distribution, guest refunds, as well as hotel lobby copies. Now, I really like this slide because it shows what the categories were back in a year ago, so March 2020, how they transitioned into September and the final reporting transition for March 2021. You'll notice for home delivery, it is made up of carriers, motor routes, mail, and joint distribution. Joint distribution back over a year ago in March 2020 had its own line item. Now, it is now included in home delivery, and that went into effect in September. So if you have a reporting home delivery, it is made up of your carriers, your motor routes, mail, and joint distribution. The major change that occurred in September was for your analyzed non-paid distribution. We used to have two buckets for your analyzed non-paid. We had qualified and we had verified. Those two have consolidated to be one all-encompassing category called qualified, and that went into effect with the September filing. So the next few slides, I'm going to be going over the qualified distribution and the consolidation of some of the categories that have occurred. We're going to talk about home delivery address specific, home delivery market coverage, what makes up public access, and what makes up other qualified. So this slide, we're going to talk about qualified home delivery. Back in March of last year, so March of 2020, we used to have under qualified, we had home delivery requested, we had home delivery targeted. Then we had verified home delivery, which was market coverage. In September, we started transitioning qualified and verified into one category. So everything got put under qualified, and then what was home delivery requested and targeted was placed in home delivery targeted for September. And this has now been relabeled to be home delivery address specific. So in the past, if you have had home delivery requested or home delivery targeted, in September, it got all consolidated into home delivery targeted, and now it's one category called home delivery address specific. When we're looking at your sampling program that is address specific, we're just verifying addresses and distribution. We are not looking at request. The other change that occurred, and this actually went into effect in September, was verified home delivery. It now got moved up into qualified home delivery in its new category called market coverage. That went into effect in September, and it's still the same for March. This is what it's going to look like in the filing tool. When you enter your circulations, you will have home delivery address specific, home delivery market coverage, and then the next two is going to be public access and other qualified, and I'll talk about that in a moment here. This slide, I'm going to talk about public access. This is a consolidated category. What makes up public access is retail business, distribution to apartments, and racks and other distribution. It is one category. So if you had any distribution for retail business, distribution to apartments, racks and other distribution, it's all in one category called public access. So back over a year ago in March, there were separate categories. We had qualified retail business, and then under verified, we had delivered to apartments, event distribution, and racks and other distribution. All four of these categories were consolidated into one category. In September, you reported all these categories. If you had any distribution, retail, delivered apartments, events, or racks, all got reported under qualified retail business. For March of 2021, retail business has been relabeled to be classified as public access, and public access is made up of retail business, distribution to apartments, RECs, and other distribution. So when you go in the filing tool under qualified circulation, here is public access. So again, if you had any distribution for retail, delivered apartments, events, or RECs and other distribution, you're going to place it under qualified under public access. The next consolidated category is called other qualified. Other qualified is made up of 3 categories: employees, education, and university copies. All 3 of these are classified now under other qualified. So in the past, they used to have their own separate line item. They got consolidated in September. So if you had education, university employees, you reported it actually under education copies in September. And then education copies has been relabeled to be other qualified, which means employees, your education, and your university copies. So I've had this question come up quite a bit the last few days for those who started filing early, wanting to know where you put your NIE or your employee copies. You're going to classify them under other qualified. Next couple of slides, I'm going to be talking about digital distribution, in particular digital replica and digital non-replica. The most change occurred with digital non-replica. If you notice, we have total paid circulation digital non-replica and then total qualified opt-in digital non-replica. There's no other categories broken out for digital non-replica. They're in totals. And then digital replica, for the most part, stayed the same except for other qualified, just like print that got consolidated. So let's take a look at digital replica. In the past, over a year ago, we had subscription, single issue, and then under qualified circulation opt-in, we had subscription, single issue, then education, university, and employee. Just like print, the education, university, and employee got consolidated into one category. In September, it was reported under education copies, and now it's been final transition into other qualified. So for digital replica, when you go in the filing tool, for paid, you have paid subscriptions, paid single issue, and then you have qualified. You have qualified subscriptions, single issue, and then other qualified, which encompasses your employees, your digital education, and your digital university copies. This next slide refers to your digital non-replica. And as you can see, back over a year ago in March of 2020, under paid digital non-replica, you had restricted access, website, e-readers, tablets, mobile smartphones. Same thing for digital non-replica qualified. All that got consolidated in September. So if you had any, regardless of the platform, if you had any paid digital non-replica, you reported in total digital non-replica. It's no longer broken out by platform. Same thing with qualified. If you have any qualified digital non-replica, it gets reported into total qualified digital opt-in digital non-replica. So when you go in the filing tool, this is what it's going to look like. You have digital non-replica, and you have 2 choices: digital replica paid and total digital non-replica qualified. The next thing that changed is going to affect with March 2021 filing is basic prices. It used to be for basic prices, you would report your 1-year frequency, your 1-year price, basic price for your most common frequencies, and you would break it out by home delivery, mail, and if you had any digital, and then you would also show single copy. That has been modified to be basic prices. All you're going to report is just your single copy prices. That's it. No more 1-year basic home delivery, no more 1-year mail. It's just going to be single copy. You have a single copy price for daily and your single copy price for your Sunday or your weekend publication. This is for publications that are on a bi-weekly or maybe a monthly. That's where you would report it. But for basic prices, it's a single copy. So when you go in the filing tool, this is what you're going to see. It's going to have single copy, your daily, and your Sunday. The next thing that's going, another change, actually it's not a change, it's actually an option for you that's going to affect with March 2021 reporting, is that you can now customize your reporting frequencies. So what do I mean by that? Let's take a look at an example. We have a 7-day publication, and in this 7-day publication, their Monday and Saturday distribution, they don't really, it's really low, so they prefer not to report it. So they're going to customize their daily frequency for reporting purposes for AAM to be Tuesday through Friday and then Sunday. So this is a change. You are now able to customize your daily frequency if you so choose. There are some parameters in place though, and if you do go this route, one to keep in mind is Sunday and weekend will always be separated out. If you're a daily publication for weeklies though, if that's all you, if you only have 2 days, it could be combined. But a daily publication, your Sunday and weekend will always be broken out separately. And then your daily date that you use for your zip code has to be part of your frequency you're reporting. If you do have any questions or if you want to customize your frequencies, feel free to call Tim Lean and he'll more than happy to make that change for you so we can get that set up for you in the filing tool. Next couple slides, I'm going to be talking about zip code. Zip code information. This change happened in September. Now remember, you file every quarter, you file the zip code information. So when you're filing your 6-month information for March, your 6-month averages, you will also be filing your quarterly zip code for March. And just to let you know, the reporting categories, you would break out you select a daily date and then a Sunday date for those that have Sunday distribution or weekend distribution. And you're going to break out your distribution by zip code. That stays the same. What changed back in September was how you reported it, under what category. It used to be we had paid home delivery, paid single copy, your business traveler, and qualified. That all got consolidated to be reporting of total paid and total qualified. Digital is never broken out by zip code. It is just a line item. So that was one of the major changes that happened with zip code, was the consolidation of reporting categories for zip codes. So you still break your zip code, your distribution by zip code, but it's either going to go under 2 buckets, either paid or qualified. The other change that happened was the proration policy. What this is that for publications that were 25,000 and less, they could prorate their paragraph 3, meaning they could take their previous filed zip code and for the current one, they can prorate it. Well, it used to be it was only for 25,000 and less. Well, that changed back in September. If you want to prorate your paragraph 3, any U.S. publication can prorate paragraph 3, regardless of the circulation size. So if you have 500,000 circulation, you can prorate your paragraph 3. Some of the criteria, though, if you do want to prorate, is that you have your distribution stayed relatively the same from the last time that you reported a zip code. So no new circulation categories were added, no new affiliated publications. Also, too, we ask that you have at least one reporting quarter is an actual paragraph 3 for the audit period. So for example, for a publication that is on a 12-month audit cycle, you can prorate, how many quarters? 4. You can prorate 3 quarters of the 4. Because of COVID, we have all been affected by COVID. Hopefully we're starting to come out of COVID, and as more and more things are with the vaccinations and everything coming around, and hopefully we're going to nip this in the bud soon. But it has been a heck of a year for all of us, and AAM recognizes that. So we did put things in place for you when you do report your distribution. There have been some options because due to the pandemic. We did modify some of the rules and simplified some of them for you. One of them being the 10-day limit omitted days was been waived. If you had any omitted days, it used to be you can only emit 10 days per calendar year. That has been waived for the March 2021 filing period. That was available in September, and we have expanded that through your March 2021. Next 2 slides is about the format. What's your format going to look like once you enter in your information in the filing tool? What's the final end product? So this is a daily format. And I'll show you in the live demo. When you go into enter your circulation claims, you'll see the consolidated categories. We have home delivery, single copy. Here under qualified, we have public access, other qualified. So remember, public access is made up of your retail business, distribution to apartments, RECs and other distribution. Other qualified is employees, education, university copies. So I'm going to zoom in a little bit. So this is what your daily format's going to look like, the PDF document. And your zip code information is housed in our Media Intelligence Center. And my colleague, Jenny Anderson, later on in this webinar will show you where that information is housed. The next one is what's called CNA reporting, Community Newspaper Audit Plan. Now this particular plan is mostly for publications that are under 25,000. They have a more simplified format. And it has been really simplified in the filing tool as well as the final product. So when you go into file your information, if you're on the community newspaper audit plan, you'll see in the filing tool under paid home, you'll have paid home delivery and then single copy, but business traveler is a consolidated category. So if you happen to have business hotel guest refund and groups and hotel lobby copies, you're going to report it as one total under business traveler. Now qualified print, qualified, that's pretty much all your analyzed non-paid distribution is going to go into qualified. So what does that mean? It means that you're going to include in there any qualified home delivery market coverage, home delivery address specific, public access, which is your retail business, distribution to apartments, RECs and other distribution, and other qualified, which includes employees, your education, and university copies. So basically, when you're looking at your circulation report, you're going to have home delivery, motor routes, and mail. Some of you may have some joint distribution gets put in home delivery. And then your single copy sales is made up of your dealers, RECs, counter sales, and make sure you deduct returns. And then qualified pretty much is all your analyzed non-paid distribution that you're going to have audited by AAM. You would put in qualified. The only thing you would not want to put in there is service copies, advertising copies. You wouldn't include that, but pretty much it's all your analyzed non-paid distribution is qualified. Again, that's your sampling copies like home delivery market coverage, address specific, and then your public access and your other qualified. And this is what your statement's going to look like, the front page. So before I switch to the live demo, I do want to point out that as of today, if you can go ahead and start filing your information for March, your 6th-month ending March, and your March quarter zip code. For dailies, your due date is April 15th. For those that are in a weekly or CNA format, your due date is April 22nd. And if you have any questions, if you need help with filing anything at all, please give us a call, either myself, my colleague Tim, or Rebecca or Shelley, and we're more than happy to help you out. So with that, just give me a moment. I'm going to go to a live demo now of the filing tool, so just bear with me. So when you go into AAM's main website, which is at auditedmedia.com, you go into login and you have two choices. You have Media Intelligence Center, and then you have the Publishing Filing Center. The Media Intelligence Center, once you enter all your information in the Filing Center and it gets released, it is housed in our database, which is known as the Media Intelligence Center. So you'll have access to your released reports, your zip code reports, as well as any other client that we have at AAM with released information. At the Publishing Filing Center, this is where you go in to enter your circulation claims, your zip code claims. So I'm going to go ahead and click on Publishing Filing Center. And it's going to ask you for credentials. I do want to point out that the credentials that you use for the Filing Center, they are different than the Media Intelligence Center. So I've had that question come up a couple times this week, saying they couldn't get in the filing tool. And that's because they were using the Media Intelligence Center credentials. So if you forgot what your credentials are for the filing tool, just let us know and we're more than happy to provide that. So I'm actually in the live filing tool. It's not a demo mode. I am going to be using Akron. So I'm just going to type in their member number. I'm not going to really be putting in any distribution numbers in there for you, for them. I'm using them as an example. So when you enter in your credentials, you have some more choices on the right hand side, and I'm going to do file circulation claims. So the very first thing that pops up when you click on file circulation claims is this welcome page. And actually there's a wealth of information in here. It has tutorials. So if you need a reference guide on the filing tool, there's a really detailed guide that goes step by step on how to file. The one that I really like is this AAM's new media category. You click on that link and it shows you the changes in reporting categories, what it used to be, what it was in September, and what it is in March. So if you have any questions about the reporting categories, this is a pretty cool tool to look at because it does show you the evolution of the changing of the categories from March 2020 to September 20 and March 2021. The filing tool has set up, it has the filing questionnaire section, enter your circulation data claims, zip code, and then review and submit. We do have cross media and brand view. If you do have any cross media information that you want to file, you can file it when you file your 6-month claims or your zip code claims. If you want to update your brand view, you can do that as well. But my main focus is going to be on filing the filing questionnaire, your circulation data, zip code, and review and submit. The first thing you need to do is go into a survey, and you want to make sure you answered this question. What circulation categories will you be reporting? If you notice, we have print circulation, digital replica, but digital non-replica is not checked. Because it's not checked, it's not going to show up in the filing tool. So if you do happen to have digital non-replica, make sure you check the box so it shows up. Also, too, there's 2 save feature in each section of the filing tool. So if you get anything out of my webinar, and I say this all the time, save and save often. We're all multitasking. So the thing of it is when you file and you get the phone rings and you're answering the phone call and you come back, the filing tool has a tendency to time out. So make sure you save and save often. The main edition pub plan on this, you'll notice that the date range, since this is 6-month ending March, it's going to start October 1st through March 31st. However, we do have clients that are on a fiscal calendar instead of a traditional calendar. So if that's the case, you can use the red calendar box either to change the start date, or you can also change the end date as well. Here's this publishing plan. This particular publication, they are a 7-day publication. But if they choose to take advantage of customizing their frequency, and let's say they decide not to report Monday and Saturday and just have a Sunday average and then a Tuesday through Friday, all they need to do is call Tim Lean and we can get that set up for them. This here is non-publishing days. So if you didn't publish if you had a non-publishing day, so say for example, Thanksgiving or the Christmas holidays, go ahead and click the plus icon and then use the red calendar box to select a day that you did not publish. I'm going to go ahead and use the red X to delete that. Here's your omitted days. Omitted days functions the same way. Use the plus icon. And remember the 10-day limit has been waived for your March 2021 filing. So if you have 20 omitted days due to COVID, you can go ahead and put those in as well. The next section is reconciliation of days. So this is where you don't do anything, but it's really helpful to look at. So I'm going to click on the title. And when you click on the title, it expands the box and it shows you the net days the filing tool is going to use to calculate your averages. So for example, Sunday, that starts out with 26 Sundays. It'll take into account any omitted days and non-publishing days and come down to your net days of net days. These net days should match your circulation report. So when you file, you're going to run a report from your circulation system. It's usually called circulation history, circulation detail report. Sometimes it's called the ABC history report or even CAC report. You're going to run that report for the 6-month time period. So for October 1st through March 31st. It's going to have your circulation distribution by frequency, and it's going to show you the days. So those days should match your report. Next section here is going to be where you enter your circulation claims. So in my PowerPoint presentation, when I talked about the consolidation under qualified, we have here home delivery address specific, market coverage. Here's public access. Remember, public access is retail business, distribution to apartments, racks and other distribution. If you have any employee NIE or university copies, it gets classified under other qualified. I'm going to switch out of this for one moment because I want to bring up a CNA. So I am going back to AAM's main website. I'm going to go ahead and click log on or log in and Publishing Filing Center. And this time I'm going to use Abilene as my example. And I want to show you Abilene's filing tool. So I'm going to go ahead and click File Circulation Claims. It functions, the filing tool functions the same, regardless if you're a daily or a CNA format. But what has changed is when you go into circulation data, if you notice qualified, there's only one category for qualified. So when you file your circulation claims, you're going to have paid home delivery print and paid single copy, because those are going to be broken out separately on your report. But on your final report, it's going to be total business traveler and then a total for qualified. So this qualified, what this encompasses, remember, it's going to be made up of your home delivery market coverage, address specific, your public access copies, other qualified such as employee, your NIE, university copies. So pretty much any of your analyzed non-paid is going to go in this qualified bucket. And we do have a description of that up here. So I do want to point that out. But that is one of the changes you'll see in the filing tool. The other thing I do want to point out is for zip codes. Zip codes functions the same way for whether you're a daily or in a CNA or a weekly format. When I go ahead, the first time that you need to go in here, you're going to go add new paragraph 3. But after you put your paragraph 3 date and you go back out, you can go back in and click edit. So you want to select your dates, use the red calendar box or set. You need to choose a daily date and a Sunday date for those on a 7-day publication or a weekly or daily publication. A paragraph 3 date that's representative for the March quarter. So for zip code, since this is going to be a quarter, and whereas paragraph 1, that's going to be 6-month averages. Also, too, for paragraph 3 zip code filing, you can include returns where paragraph 1, your circulation claims, you deduct returns. You'll select your dates using the calendar box, and then you want to make sure you put in your pub code. Mostly this could be the initials of your publication. Where this comes into play is for those publications that have a lengthy zip code report. Instead of manually data entering, you can upload it. But if you do upload it, we need to know specifically what your pub code is. But if you're just going to manually enter your zip code, just make it the initials of your publication. If you do choose to prorate, make sure you answer yes to this question. You are eligible to prorate. Do you want to prorate? And you say yes. Go into circulation record totals at the bottom here. It's going to bring up it takes a moment for it to come up. And you're going to enter in what your circulation claims are for those paragraph 3 dates for paid and qualified, and if you had digital. Once you enter that, go into zip code data entry. And it does take it a moment to pop up, so be patient with it, especially if you're working from home. I don't know about you, but my internet keeps going in and out sometimes, so I had to give it a while. So here, this is your zip code. You would just start typing in what your distribution is by zip code. And we have a Tuesday date, and then we have Sunday. But what you can do, though, if you did select calculate if you did select that you want to prorate, click calculate proration, and it will automatically take your distribution claims for the current paragraph 3 date and compare it to the previous one we have in file and populate this for you. So that's why I like the proration tool. It's pretty cool. It's a time saver. So if you're able to prorate, I do recommend it. But it's up to you. And once you're done with your zip code information, you can export it to Excel, and that way you can have it for your files, and then we have ready for submission. We have a two-step submission process for the filing tool. One is paragraph 3, your zip code. When you're done with paragraph 3, you're going to submit it here. But once you submit it, it boots you out of the filing tool and you have to re-log in. And then you have to go back under review and submit to submit your final claims. So it's a two-step process for submission. One, it's paragraph 3, and then the rest of the information is under review and submit. A couple things under review and submit. We have view data. When you click on view data, once you enter information, your circulation claims, this will populate and you get to see what your distribution looks like. It's basically your proof. And then the final step, submit. When everything is said and done, you're going to put your name and your title and then check the box. And this says basically, the best of your knowledge, the information is true and accurate. And then there will be a blue submission button ready here to click once you submitted paragraph 3. So that is the filing tool in a nutshell. So bear with me. I am going to switch it over to my colleague, Jenny Anderson, and she is going to talk about the Media Intelligence Center. So just let me figure this out. So I'm getting used to Zoom webinar. I'm sure all of you are learning Zoom. So I'm going to make Jenny a host. And Jenny?
Sandy, I've just shared my screen. Are you able to see the auditedmedia.com website?
Yes, I am.
Okay, perfect. I now have showing my screen. Thank you, Sandy, for that awesome information. Super helpful as we look forward to our March 2021 data. So now that you've filed and now that the data is submitted for this period, how are you going to access once this data releases? So we're going to go into the Media Intelligence Center. And remember, your information is here on the left side. You just want to click on that returning user. If you want to have a login set up for you, go ahead and give us a call up here at the 877 support number. We'll give you your tentative or temporary login, and then you can create your own. So just give us a call if you'd like one. So now the steps that we want to access data, now that we have these this change initiative that began in September and now is the culmination is in March. So we know we're looking at newspaper data. So I'm going to put a check mark to the left of news media. Now, you'll notice when I place this check mark next to news media, I get this column called latest one-day distribution. This is going to show you, because remember, as Sandy said, you still report zip code distribution, which is your one-day distribution. You report that 4 times per year. That's quarterly. So this is a new column. This lets you know for each publication, what is their most recent zip code data reported and released. When you don't have that news media filter selected, you're going to see that that one-day distribution date disappears. So you need to press on that news media filter to get that to pop up. Now, how are we going to access our news media statements? As you remember, they used to be quarterly data reports, but now top line data is reported 2 times per year, March and September. So what we want to do is we want to go down and click on a newspaper name in blue. We'll just choose the Akron Beacon Journal. Now, when we do that, Akron Beacon Journal has brand view. So what we want to do is go to the News Media Statements tab. This is going to be where your newest statement pops up. Now, the Akron Beacon Journal doesn't yet have a March 2021 news media statement released. When it is released, you're going to see it pop up automatically in this window. As you can see, the most recent news media statement released is the 6 months ended September 30th. What will happen is when they have submitted and approved and it has released their March 2021 news media statement info, it will pop up here on the front page. And that will be their most recent PDF statement. Now, if you want to access historical statements, you just go up to this previous news media statement tab here. You click that down arrow to the right. Now, all of your past quarterly reports are available going back to Q1 2015 by clicking this down arrow here. You'll see our first 6-month news media statement was September 2020. So once the March 2021 releases, you're going to see this September 2020 statement listed here in the previous news media statements. So whenever that releases, you're going to be able to see that here and access your September and all of your historical quarterly reports right here. You still access your audit reports, etc., via Reports Library, but here is where you're going to access your statements. So let's say now we're going to go back to our main page. Now, a lot of questions have come in. How do I access my zip code data? Because remember, that releases 4 times per year. So it's not listed on the statement. So what we want to do is we want to go into the News Media Analyzer and access our information. So here, if you want to access data for just one publication, you put a check mark to the left of that publication. Or if you have a saved list, you can go up to Manage List, Report Alerts, and pull up a saved list. You can even pick a list by parent company or by circulation, etc. For this example, I'm just going to go ahead and select a few titles here. And then I'm going to click this Analyze Data button. Analyze Data button is the doorway to the News Media Analyzer. If you don't select at least one title, this is not going to show up. So I'm going to click Analyze Data, and I'm going to go to News Media Analyzer. Now, News Media statement is automatically selected under Select Data Source, and that's what we want because we want the most recent data. So when I go to distribution by zip code, I'm going to see my most recent zip code data. So I like to use the modify option. You can export directly into Excel, and this is predetermined column headers. You can click this view report that will show you a report with those column headers that you can then export. I usually use modify because modify presents me with the category options I have. The ones in gray are automatically included in your report. Let's say I want to get that analyzed day of week, and then I click submit. Now it'll take just a moment because we have a few titles, but you'll notice here the most recent reporting date is December. That's because, again, zip code data is reported 4 times per year. The March data has not released yet. So the most recent zip code data is going to be December. It may perhaps be that a paper doesn't have December, maybe they have September. It'll just pull what's the most recent data, zip code data. Now you can export this, choose your preferred format, and you click OK. This downloads right into Excel. What I want to show you is what's different is this executive summary report. If I go ahead and click on View Report, for this one, you're going to see that the most recent reporting date is September. Remember, executive summary data is that top line data. You're only reporting it twice per year. It's going to be your March ending and your September ending. So that's why if you come in here, you may say, why don't my dates match when I look at executive summary or distribution by zip code? Just remember, zip code data is reported 4 times per year. Executive summary and top line data is reported 2 times per year. So you can always access this data, especially that zip code data. I get questioned all the time, where is my one-day distribution? Again, it's not listed on a PDF. You're going to find it in the News Media Analyzer, down here under distribution by zip code. And you can't break the system. Go ahead and use whatever option you want here, and that's to access your zip code data. Should you ever have any questions or need additional help, feel free to contact me using this email and telephone number up here above.
Hey, Jenny,
So,
before you turn it over, can you show them the historical part that they wanted to go
oh,
back in time?
yeah, absolutely. So if you want to look at previous statement data, you just go ahead and click on historical reporting period. And then you can pick and choose a reporting period if you want to look at, let's say, 9/30/2020, Q3 2019, Q3 2018. And then you can go down here and choose your report. And that's going to pull all that historical data. So once you choose your historical reporting period, now you can go in and choose your report. Say we go into distribution by state, we select all, we click submit. Now we're going to get those variety of different dates here, 2020, 2019, 2018, etc. And now you can just export this just like you would any other report and click OK. And that will export.
Cool.
So you can always click on that historical reporting period.
Well, thank you, Jenny. I'm going to switch it back over.
You're welcome. Yeah, feel free to share your screen again.
So I'm going to share my screen. Hopefully you will see it. It's back on our main website. Did have a couple of questions pop up, and I thought I'd address them before we end the webinar. And I'm going to go, it actually pertains to what you report. So as we stated in the, what you're going to do is every quarter you report a zip code. And the question came up, well, for March, I already filed, I have a December zip code. What do I file for March? March, you're going to file the quarter zip code for March. So you would select a zip, you would file 6-month averages for March. That would be October through March 31st. And then the zip code, you're going to select from the March quarter. So between January and March, you select a paragraph 3 date between January and March for the March quarter zip code. So every quarter you file a zip code. You'll file a zip code for the March quarter, the June quarter, September quarter, and March quarter. So what's different though is the 6-month average claims. Every 6 months, you will also, in addition to your zip code, report your circulation claims as well. So for March, we're doing 6-month ending March. Your distribution claims are going to be from October 1st through March 31st. September would be from April 1st through September 30th. And then for March filing, your zip code that you're going to file for March would be in that March quarter. So you select a zip code between January and March. September, you're going to select a zip code between that September quarter, so between July and September. Also had a question that came up, well, what happens on my paragraph 3 date that I normally choose? I usually choose a Friday or a Monday, and that distribution day happens to be just my digital day. Well, then you need to, if you have print distribution, and you're reporting that for AAM, you need to select a paragraph 3 date that has print distribution. And keep in mind, we don't dictate to you what day you choose for your paragraph 3. You can change from a Monday to a Tuesday. We do ask that you choose a representative day, so a typical day for you for a daily and a Sunday, and then it's within that quarter period. So, as I had stated before I went to the live demo, if you do have any questions, feel free to contact myself or any of my colleagues, and we're more than happy to help you with any of your filing questions. So thank you so much for joining us on today's webinar, and I hope you have a wonderful day.